What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. Here to talk a little bit about preseason football, a little bit about our potential breakout candidates for this upcoming NFL season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you're excited, just like we are. But before we go any further, Matt, Theo, it's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday evening, afternoon. Been a little bit stormy here in Ohio still, but we're making do. Matt, I imagine you're dealing with it as much as I am.
Yeah, it's been a little rainy recently. I've been debating the Burger Hall of Fame on Twitter.
The Burger Hall of Fame?
The Burger Hall of Fame. First ballot, I had bun
like
and beef patty.
Oh, you're talking components.
I'm talking components of burger.
Dude, I had no idea where you were going with that either. Okay, components.
In solidly, but has to wait, tomato, lettuce, cheese. Border, I think most of my border is in. Onion, pickle, ketchup, and I'll add bacon and mayo into that. And then Hall of Very Good would be mustard, sesame seed, egg, honestly anything else, barbecue sauce, whatever.
Sure.
I don't think the patty and the bun could be in the Burger Hall of Fame. That is a burger. That's like nominating the football into the Football Hall of Fame.
They got a lot of them in there, man. I completely disagree. It's not the burger fixing Hall of Fame. It's the Burger Hall of Fame.
Patty and the bun, and then the candidates are the optional things.
Well, this is an interesting conversation because I had a plain hot dog over the weekend and people thought I was crazy for
you're not letting anybody into the Hall of Fame, Blaiden, because you're like, what's wrong with just the plain? Why plain? Why are we adding all this other shit in there? For the Burger Hall of Fame, I think I'd elect cheese, obviously.
Do we have to get granular on what kind of cheese?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you'd have to get granular. I don't know. But
no, I don't think so here. I think we're looking at cheese zoomed out here. If you want to pick one, American cheese, because it's the most classic type of cheese to put on the burger. But then you can get down to like what type of lettuce, what type of tomato. And that's not really what I'm going for here. What type of mayonnaise? No, that's not what the conversation is. I completely disagree.
I would also argue that no sauces belong in the Hall of Fame. Right? Like if you're like, I get that mayonnaise is like maybe the more common thing to put on a burger, but if we're not putting ketchup or mustard or barbecue sauce in the Hall of Fame, I think you also can't put mayo in the Hall of Fame.
Why is that?
I think they're all, well, first, I mean, I don't like mustard, so I wouldn't put it on, but like I'm just as likely to put barbecue or ketchup on a burger as I am mayonnaise, or like some places have their own signature burger sauce that they put on their burgers. Like I feel like like the sauce that you put on a burger depends on the type of burger that you're getting. And if you're putting one in the Hall of Fame, you have to put them all in. But I wouldn't put
all of it. All of it depends on the type of burger that you're getting.
I guess that's fair.
I mean, even the bun and the patty depend on the type of burger you're getting. And you can scoff at that, and I'd say black bean burger. What about those lettuce bun things that they do?
Yep.
I would say that it's bun and patty in first ballot, because if you don't have a standard bread bun and a beef patty, you're having an atypical burger. I can't say that about any other ingredient. That's why they're at the top. Even cheese. Although I will hear out the argument for cheese first ballot, but it's the only other thing that's being even remotely considered. Then I think about like, okay.
Ketchup is easily first ballot.
It's not first ballot.
No,
it's not.
No,
it's not on the. It's not in the same stratosphere as bun and patty.
It's not in the same stratosphere as cheese.
Bun and patty
I agree.
Bun and patty aren't eligible, and it is in the same stratosphere as cheese. Clearly,
the bun and patty are. No, it's not. Ketchup is not in the same stratosphere as cheese.
Yes, it is. Ketchup is classic.
I just
more people probably
no, it's not.
Probably more people eat burgers with ketchup than people eat burgers with cheese, is what I would say. Because there's hamburgers and there's cheeseburgers. That's like maybe not a 50-50 split, but it's an option. Whereas they all have ketchup.
Most recently, what I've been putting on my burger is provolone cheese, bacon. I've been making fried tomatoes recently. Those have been pretty good. And a little bit of barbecue sauce and hot honey. So that's my recent burger.
I think cheese, lettuce, tomato, ketchup is like obviously your first four in the.
I have a different standard for. It's not burger topping. It's burger. How can you have burger without beef patty?
You can't. That's why it's not a player. It's just what it is. The Burger Hall of Fame
is a player.
It's not a player.
So cheese can't go in the Cheeseburger Hall of Fame?
Well, the burger.
That's a question.
Oh, he got you.
Now that's
That's a thinker. That's a real thinker. You'll have to get back to me on that.
Theo, this is can a black bean burger go in the Hall of Fame then?
It's just not good enough.
I would put like a black bean burger above.
Well, I'm just saying, like, is a black bean burger a player? If a beef patty is not a player, is a black bean burger a player? We have to establish your line here.
That's also a thinker.
Yeah, you weren't ready to answer that question yet. You're giving your now. That's real interesting, man. Here's what my logic was. When you think about the standard burger, if I ask somebody to draw a burger, if you draw a burger as simply as you can, it's going to be 2 stripes of orange bookending it. You're going to have brown for the patty. And then what else? Green, red, and yellow. Lettuce, tomato, cheese. Those are the biggest players. Now, I would argue that when we think of standard burger fixings, we're not thinking about what we like, just standard burger fixings. I would also throw onion and pickles into that mix. I don't like pickles. I like onion a lot, but I don't really like pickles on my sandwiches. But I can still respect where it stands in the burger hierarchy. And then ketchup, I think, also as probably the top sauce. And I'll hear out mayo, too. Maybe I'm underestimating how often mayo is showing up in the burgers. Bacon, I kind of think should get left out. I'll be real with you. Now, that I am kind of biased towards, I don't like a bacon burger. I think it's too much. I think it's too, I know I know how people are about it. I had somebody in my comments say ranch, though, and I started losing my mind. I can't lie. But
not for a burger.
And the number of tomato doubters also really bothered me. Tomato has horrible PR right now, man.
Tomato has terrible PR. I don't get it. I love tomato. I think tomato is the best produce item, bar none, by a lot.
Ooh.
I don't know. Onion is tough to beat. I think red onion, especially on a burger, is a good. I can sub out lettuce for onion because lettuce is good for texture. I like the crunchiness of it, but onion provides all that same thing while also giving it a little bit of kick. So I guess I'd probably put onion in before
a little caramelized onion.
Caramelized onion, delicious. But even if it's not caramelized, onions are underrated by picky eaters like my girlfriend and like Blaiden. They don't understand.
I'll eat onion on a burger. I'm perfectly fine putting onion on a burger. Where I have a problem is sometimes you go to a restaurant and it's like, standard cheeseburger, tomato, onion, lettuce, and the onion they got is stringy. I don't want stringy raw onion on my burger. It needs to be crispy, right? It needs
Never
to have
had that problem. We're not sure it's real. Stringy onion. I'll keep an eye out.
No, dude. I've had multiple stringy onion burgers. I'm like, nah, dude, take this off. But don't have that problem when I go get my junior bacon cheeseburger at Wendy's. Not sponsored, but
I just don't like the bacon. It's just too much.
I guess. I like the bacon, though. Theo, where do you stand on bacon?
I think it's fine. I like bacon.
Bacon's good.
It's extra. It's an extra cost, and sometimes I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need to add bacon for $2.50. But I like it. I mean,
it's like the avocado,
Mm-hmm. Well, avocado is well worth it. Avocado is special.
Well, my take on avocado is that I don't taste anything. To me, it's like lettuce
We're good.
in the flavor department.
We're not doing this. We got to get in the preseason, man.
So we're not doing it.
Because I can't battle with you about avocados, man. I feel strongly. It's like
I don't have any criticism of avocado. It's fine. It's like a soft.
you just said it tastes like nothing.
Yeah, it tastes like
criticism
nothing.
of a food.
That's not a
That's a criticism of a food.
If you dropped avocado in water, it would do nothing.
Okay, well, I wouldn't put lettuce in my water, and I don't put cucumber in my water either. But like, if avocado is on something, I'm not going to have them take it off.
There's so many
They do that. I have to say,
this is turning.
the cucumber water thing. Look that up.
That's a
You're
real
gonna be
thing.
That's a real.
It's a real thing. But like, I'm not doing it.
I mean,
Hey,
I'm
man,
not
we don't
doing
have time.
it. I'm not doing
Limited
it at home.
hours in the
Like my
day.
Brita doesn't have cucumber in it, so yeah, I guess I'm not either.
But yes, Matt, we should get into preseason football. And here's the thing, right? We all have to have we have to be very careful when analyzing preseason football, because ultimately you don't want to get the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase bamboozled of like, well, these guys aren't gonna be heating it up, right? And ultimately it's either the instance of things are so simplified down and the competition level is still so low going up against the second and third stringers a lot of times, or just the speed of things is slowed down so much that it is hard to get a real grasp of just how impressive something is. Or sometimes they're going out there, like the starters are going out there just trying to maybe knock some of the rust off and not get hurt, access some big plays if they can. And so like you might see some big negatives and you like freak out, but it's like, okay, but they're not trying to hit the easy button stuff in this instance. And so it's trying to be a little bit fair and taking situation into account here. But I thought it would be interesting if you had something that you wanted to overreact about for preseason, to fire it away here, because that's what everyone's doing right now. So
something to overreact about. I guess the thing that I am willing to overreact about does have to do with the Packers, right? Watching their preseason game. And what I really liked was Brandon Cisse, their first pick that they made in the second round. I was really encouraged by the way that he looked, especially in man coverage. They didn't really throw it his way very much. He didn't have that much to do. But when I checked the all 22 and kind of got that bird's eye view, I thought his ability to gather himself and transition downhill when he was playing off was like perfect, like instantaneous. He can take away a window underneath so quickly. In press, he was physical with guys and then flipped his hips kind of while jamming and was able to like crowd a guy out of bounds. He stayed square through, I thought, a really good release from Jeremy Bernard, who kind of tapped the ground with his inside foot. And sometimes guys think you're going vertical off the inside foot and they open up towards the sideline. He stayed perfectly square. He looked like he had makeup speed to guard inbreaker routes and kind of make up that ground. If you're going outside, it seemed like he could kind of crowd you to the sideline. If he's playing off, he can close the space. He looked long, and like he was able to kind of keep contact at bay and stack and shed and tackle. He had a touchdown saving tackle out on the perimeter in the red zone. That was cool. My only note on him that was really negative was just he wasn't very locked in, I think, to his run blocking assignments. There were times when the run was headed away from him and he kind of wasn't staying ready and relied on some makeup speed on that touchdown saving tackle. It could have not gone that way if it's not in preseason, right? Maybe that's a running back that breaks that tackle if the space isn't constricted right away. There was a motion from the tight end, just a little shift, and the linebackers bumped over to adjust for the new angle, and he didn't, and it kind of put him behind the play, and he had to make up for it later with the athleticism. There is another run fill on a touchdown that got called back by holding that I just didn't really love the tempo of. So I feel like in run support, he's got some I had some like, well, he's got to kind of learn the timing of this and how all the pieces kind of fit together and stay mentally locked in. But man, the pure coverage talent was better than I was expecting. He's such a freak athlete. And at the very least, they got a demon special teams gunner. But yeah, I mean, cornerback is a position that's just so questionable for the Packers, whether it be Carrington Valentine's tackling or Nixon's kind of everything at the moment. And for Cisse to come in and look like you can kind of just press him up and he can match up with all kinds of receivers potentially with the length and the, like, man, on that first day of preseason, I watched all the rookies. I'm like, he's stands out as an athlete, maybe more than anybody that's not named Jeremiah Love, to be honest. So that's something I'm kind of willing to get excited about, is that pick for my Green Bay Packers. But we'll see. It was not the Steelers' number ones. He was not guarding DK Metcalf or anything like that.
Sure. I was excited watching that game, looking at the quarterbacks outside of Rodgers. They've got an interesting QB room. I thought Will Howard made a really excellent throw in that game where he does a good job sliding in the pocket and moving as little as he can and then firing over the middle over a linebacker and almost scoring a touchdown, but I think it got called back. And then Aller, say what you want about him, but when you compare him to these other QBs who are playing in the preseason, the difference in terms of how the ball fires off their arm is ridiculous. And I knew Aller had a big arm, but there's a difference between guys who have NFL level arms and guys who clearly are special in that regard. I'm not saying that makes him a great quarterback or anything, but it's pretty easy to immediately see why he was a dude where you're taking a shot on him as a project, because absolutely everything you're saying, okay, man, if anything, he can fire that thing in there. Now, the placement was a little up and down, and they didn't ask him to do anything crazy, so I'm not taking too much from it, but it definitely is something to watch, and I'm excited to see how that room plays out this year.
Yeah, I am a little disappointed still that they're just going to kind of run out Rodgers as the starter, even though, like, sure, that gives them probably the best chance to win football games this season. But I would like to see what you have in Will Howard. I would like to see what you have in Drew Aller. And it does feel a little counterintuitive to be like, well, we're going to have this sort of rebuilding period without Tomlin, but we're also going to run out 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers at quarterback.
I don't think they view it as a rebuilding period.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only thing they would have to not view it as a rebuilding period, because they keep winning, 9-10 games year after year, and you don't want to, you're probably looking more to get over that hump, thinking that you can finally, not just, win 10 games, maybe you can win an 11th or a 12th, win a playoff game, right? That's probably more of the vision than, oh, well, we want to try and get our future franchise quarterback in one of these guys.
It's true, though, that Rodgers is like uninspiring and really weak in the pocket these days.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the lowest ADOT, average depth of target numbers in the league. And if he comes out and the Steelers are punting and struggling to move the ball and they go weeks without a big play like they did for stretches last season, it is going to be like the saxophones are getting loud, as the kids say nowadays. And yeah, we do want to see one of these young guys if the offense continues to be as uninspiring in Pittsburgh as it's been. I had that exact same thought of like, man, Aller, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. Will Howard with some intermediate flood concept throws over like a pursuing defender. And then that seam to Tanyan where he stepped up and fired that. Although it was pretty open. There wasn't much of a linebacker presence there. And that's the thing with preseason is like, man, these guys are doing it against guys who are about to be cut, especially Aller in the second half. And, why do they have to start right now if Rodgers is a starter? Like, yeah, maybe it is uninspiring with Rodgers. Maybe they are bad, but so is Drew Aller as a rookie, most likely. A lot of great quarterbacks are terrible their rookie years. A lot of third-round picks are unplayable. And Jordan Love, who knows how he would have looked his first 2 seasons in the league, or who knows how Aaron Rodgers himself would have looked his first 2 seasons in the league if he had to play, but he didn't. They sat. And Aller's sitting, Like, it could be disappointing for sure. It could be like, what are we doing here? But at the same time, sometimes it's probably better not to know what Aller looks like right now in a regular season scenario, and maybe 2027 or 2028 is a better time for him, I think. But Blaiden, what are you overreacting to in preseason?
I'm trying not to overreact is kind of what I've been trying to do, especially like there are certain guys that I think should not be playing in preseason. Like a lot of starters. Like I get Cam Ward playing because you want him and Carnell Tate to get some chemistry, if at all possible. But like Jackson Dart should not have been out there. And the hit that he took, and not even that hit, but like he got sacked earlier where Flores is just sending the house and they're just running man coverage and they're just like, yeah, just turn and flow to his first read. Like don't even bother. Like I just wouldn't want him out. It just feels like such a big risk, but I'm trying to get that out of my head. Katron Allen got a lot of touches for Washington in their preseason game, and he wasn't super productive, but I thought he was moving pretty well. It kind of reminded me of watching Ashton Genty in some ways last year, where like the line completely collapses immediately and he's like bouncing around and fighting just to get 2 yards. And so he looked really shifty and had nice vision. And he's a back that I liked a decent amount. And I think he has a very good shot to win that running back room at some point this year. And I think he can just be a really good, a breath of fresh air maybe for that running game to take some of the load off of Jaden Daniels there. And then I'll also throw out AJ Halsey for the Colts. Rumors are sounding like he might just be the starting strong safety there. And I thought he was doing a good job flowing downhill in the run game. I think that's something that they've been lacking, at the linebacker room, especially for a while now, is just guys that are quick to get downhill. And so I loved the CJ Allen pick there for that. But I also thought Halsey would do a good job of making up some ground there as well for them. So I was happy to see him kind of fill in that role pretty nicely. So not necessarily an overreaction, more just confirmation.
Yeah, you're not really. I guess I'm not overreacting.
Of something that I already liked a decent amount from them.
Yeah,
but
I liked Halsey. I thought he completely shut down the middle of the field. Like I don't know if they targeted any kind of intermediate dig while he was out there, kind of in the post safety world. And he had a play where he kind of got some depth on a play where he was really in the middle hole as a rat player, but he got some depth to kind of show Tommy DeVito space and then took it away. And DeVito had to hold the ball because that read he thought was there was gone, and then was under pressure when he threw to the second dig, and Halsey took that away. He was poaching and just kind of keeping his eyes on those crossers, and none of them were really thrown. He didn't miss any tackle opportunities in that first game. Yeah, I thought it was good. I still think, like, man, he's such a big body at free safety, such a big body. And if they're play actioning him and he's got to like reach a window that he's a little too far under, like turning and running, I don't know what that high end speed looks like. That's my one kind of negative note from his preseason game. But overall, I thought, yeah, he looked intimidated. He seemed to have kind of an intimidation factor that you expected him to have, being such a big hitter over the middle in college.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for Halsey. Are
you overreacting about Cam Ward?
No. Look, and I've been I want to save the Cam Ward talk a little bit for the breakout section because well, let's
get into it then. Okay, so you got Cam Ward as one of your breakouts.
Well, I wasn't going to until I saw the way people were talking about him, and I'm like, dude, like, why are we having the like preseason, he's washed, it's over, talk about Cam Ward? I get the offensive line is still a problem, and it's something that you're not really confident in is going to be better than it was last year, at least in pass protection. And Cam Ward does kind of have a tendency to maybe make a little more than he needs to on any given play. But also, I always think back about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You know, Jamar Chase had all those drops, and it was Burrow's second year.
Drops are one thing, though. Like, drops are something that, you know, you do everything right. You run a good route, you get open, you're on time, the quarterback targets you, everything's all perfect, and then you just don't finish the play. Throwing it right to the middle linebacker or scrambling backwards and maybe, you know, bringing your arm back and fumbling or something like that, you're not doing most of your things right. You know, it's very different than a drop. And I am willing to overreact a little bit to Cam Ward, and I like Cam Ward going into this season. I think he's got, you know, more skill and variety and ability to do, you know, kind of anything on the football field, more than some of the other quarterbacks in this draft class, in that last draft class, or more than a lot of the starters in the league, point blank period. That's why he's the first overall pick. And it's something I'm still willing to, you know, see right going into year 2. But man, that preseason game, I'm like, what do they practice? Because his timing and his poise and like reading the field just was all bad. And maybe it's just learning a new system. There's a lot of rust to shake off. But if you're like that very first play,
I know.
where he like has an open read and he almost looks like he's punting the football. Like, that's what his footwork and the way he's holding the ball looks like. Is he looks like a punter stepping up to kick it away. I'm like, man, you had somebody open. Like, what on earth is this instinct of yours that you find yourself in this position? That to me is a red flag. And yeah, it was.
I get it.
They won that preseason game, but in a ugly way. You want the starters to look better than they did.
I just feel like preseason to me is sort of an extension of practice, right? And we talk about all these training camp stats and clips, and we're like, well, we don't really know what their objective was coming into this. And, you know, obviously when you're, you know, maybe a third or fourth guy on the depth chart, you might be working on just like trying to make the team, right? Or maybe trying to find a special teams role. But I feel like if you're the starters, like you're either trying to gain some chemistry. I think rookies, you want to maybe hit some easy button stuff for. We saw that a lot with like Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, just try and like hit the top of your drop, get the ball out. But like, I think with Cam Ward, you kind of just want to see what you can toy around with a little bit. And if that results in some mistakes, I think that's a little bit fine to do. And maybe I'm coping. Maybe I'm coping.
I think that's totally cope.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be the end of the world, but it also isn't his objective to, like, maybe you do see what you could get away with. But the answer in this preseason game was, well, you can't get away with much. You know, he didn't make big plays. He didn't. Right. He didn't make somebody miss or have a beautiful play out of structure. So if his objective is like, oh, I'm going to test my limits on this in this game or on this drive, first of all, that's a silly way to play preseason, because you just don't want to get touched at all if you're the quarterback, or put anything on the line that you don't have to. And second of all, like, he didn't create much. He didn't really look like he didn't make any big plays, really. So I don't know. It doesn't have to be the end, but I am willing to overreact a little bit, of like, raise some alarm bells of like, look, Cam Ward was the worst quarterback in the league under pressure last season. And it kind of just looked like he was bad under pressure in this preseason game. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I know what I've seen with Cam Ward, and I understand that, like, yes, statistically worst quarterback under pressure last season, but also I saw him at times look like Patrick Mahomes throwing across his body and throwing under pressure. And I think a lot of the issues with him being under pressure was the offensive line was terrible. And also he doesn't have a receiver that he can just reliably hit the top of his drop and get the ball to. And you're hoping Carnell Tate can be that. If you're going to overreact to anything, I think it would be that Carnell Tate didn't separate super, super well.
I didn't think he did either, but he did separate on a dig, and Ward was late to the backside, and he could have put it on Tate's back shoulder, and he let him into the linebacker and should have thrown a pick there. Like, Tate maybe took a while to separate there. He kind of leaned on the corner at the top in a pretty exaggerated fashion, and the corner hit the ground and he got open, but like maybe that could have been a little bit more like a bang, bang, like smooth instead of like I'm pushing and breaking inside. But he didn't spend a lot of time at the line of scrimmage, and it was on the backside of the concept. So he felt like he had some time to play with, and he chose to spend it getting physical and broke inside open. And I think Ward was not necessarily sharp getting to that backside with great timing or putting that in a spot where Tate could really catch it.
I think that's fair. I'm still.
Anything
I'm
else
still, I'm just still high on Cam Ward. My thing is,
it's fair. It's fair.
I'm just not willing to overreact to that one preseason game. I think preseason ultimately, like my mom texted me. She was like, "What's up with your team?" Because they got smoked in the preseason. Yeah, and I'm like, "It's preseason." She said, "Oh, good." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're still going to be bad, but like."
Yeah, we don't want to overreact to the Browns losing. Come on.
Shador and Gabriel and Watson are all taking huge negative plays. We don't want to overreact.
Well, that's the norm for those guys, I fear.
Maybe what they were supposed to do is go out there and just get it out of their system now while the games don't count. We don't.
True.
We don't know.
See what you can get away with. I did see some people being like, "This is the best Watson's looked in like 3 years." I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?"
Gabriel learned that he can't get away with overthrowing Cole Wilson by 10 feet. He will be punished for that in the NFL. Now he knows.
Yeah. Matt, who is your big breakout this upcoming NFL season?
Walter Nolan is one of my big guys this year. I've talked about him a little bit, but if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a big year. His power and drive is unbelievable. Even when somebody really gets their hands on him and can hold him at length and you feel like this rep is won, he's just so strong that he has the ability to push you back anyway and to still be an issue. And he's not doing this at like 350 pounds or whatever. He's doing this at pretty normal size and as a guy who can really move as well. So that power is able to translate into him being like useful as a looper or in stunts or in a lot of different capacities. It's also something that makes him really impressive against the run. It's tough to deal with a guy like that when you're trying to get to your landmark on like outside zone and he can reach it there first. And even if you get your hands on him again, he can still get that knockback and kind of screw up the whole thing. So the health is a big question. I know he had a health scare during preseason as well, and maybe that just doesn't work out. But Nolan was a guy coming out of the draft that was super athletic, but maybe we had some questions about on his hand usage and whatnot. And I just think like, man, the athleticism was really translating early for him. And I would not be surprised with another year under his belt or if he can just be 100% if he takes a big, big step.
He's so boxy and broad in his frame. I love it with how explosive he is. It just seems like it's a lot of weight to move. It seems like if he can stay square through contact, like it's going to be really tough. Mm-hmm. He takes up a lot of surface area for two guys trying to tag the linebackers if they're blockers. And yeah, that's another thing I'm willing to maybe overreact to in the preseason is the fact that Walter Nolan was kind of living in the backfield and had a sack. And is that step one of having a pretty big season? I think it could be. He's pretty nice. He's pretty nice. And really that he's with Sweat still as well. I mean,
Yep.
it's not like all the attention can just go to Walter Nolan, and the back is just going to be flowing through the A and B gaps all day, every game. You know, there's actually a bigger fish on that defensive line, which is nice. Now you can build doubles in a couple of different ways, so it's still going to be a thing for him. You know, guard and center, you know, whatever it is. Tight end can take edge, running back and flow through, but still, you know, Sweat is somebody who can make guys step up to him, or he can make guys step into Sweat. So it's one of the things that the Cardinals have to hang their hat on, if in their quest not to be like unbelievably horrible, is the fact that they have kind of two centerpiece players on their defensive line. I don't think every team could say that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I keep trying to talk myself. It's like, maybe the Cardinals won't be that bad. And I just remember their schedule is brutally difficult. But they've got some guys on both sides of the ball that you really do get excited about. And yeah, Walter Nolan is a really fun watch. He was eating up in the preseason. That's definitely a guy you can overreact on.
It's not even based on the preseason for
Yeah.
me, though. I mean, last year, the game he had against Atlanta before he went down, like he was really, really killing in the regular season. He was giving serious players trouble, either with quickness or with power. So I'm just really excited about him.
I'll keep in with the I guess it's not the theme because it's not all about preseason, but the Raiders played the Cardinals, and I have a Raiders player, Jalen Naylor. I think Jalen Naylor is somebody who could break out. I mean, he has had 400 yards each of the last 2 seasons. He could be over 1,000, I think, next year.
Stay hot legend.
Stay hot legend. We interviewed him in that loaded draft class of interviews that we had. Speedy Naylor is somebody who really didn't see his production affected by JJ McCarthy last season. His yards per route run stayed about the same, had a couple more yards, couple more touchdowns. He was somebody that kind of was easy to trust, I guess, for somebody like JJ, who seemed a little bit in over his head. Like Naylor was kind of the guy who he could kind of consistently go to. And Naylor was just in the right spot versus zone coverage. I thought he did a good job tempoing his routes and staying away from coverage versus man. He is fast enough to kind of beat you over the top, and had a bunch of great plays on the sideline, like a toe drag versus the Falcons on a corner route in the red zone. He had one versus the Ravens. I think he went over, maybe it was Wiggins, kind of in the slot, and Wiggins turned and tried to push him up the field out of the back of the end zone, and Naylor like tiptoed that sideline and came out on the other side with zero room to spare. The ball was there, and he was able to make a hands catch with a defender under him, the sideline right there. That was super impressive. He had a game-winning slot fade versus the Detroit Lions last season, where he had to twist and kind of high point the ball. Another play versus the Ravens was a little interference slot fade that he caught over his shoulder and then cut back on the sideline, stiff armed on the sideline. Like he did a lot of cool stuff on the sideline that kind of let me know he's cognizant, he's got body control. And then I think about Mendoza and all the things he did last year, throwing to the sideline, throwing those slot fades, and Naylor being somebody who can kind of get open and pluck the ball out of the air and twist. I think it bodes well for him. It's a very crackable starting lineup, right? With him and Besh and Trey Tucker. I think all of them are guys I thought about as breakouts because I think they all got nice things about them. Trey Tucker being so fast, Besh being so physical. But I look at Naylor and over a 90% on target catch rate for the Vikings last season, a double digit like broken and missed tackle force rate after receptions, which both of those numbers combined are really good, a little bit better than what Naylor and Besh were doing last season on a little bit more of a workload as well. It seems like if there's a top dog there, it's him. Analytics kind of liked him in the stats I looked at, and I don't know if this is going to be a great passing attack. I don't know what this offensive line is going to look like. And number one overall quarterbacks, as good as Fernando Mendoza looked in his preseason debut, it's tough sledding more often than not. So I don't know how
Right.
good this offensive infrastructure is, but it is different. It is changed. And sometimes when you change a whole lot, like things can kind of emerge in a great way. Like could the Raiders be an offense that kind of reminds you of, what Jaden Daniels did as a rookie or what May did in year 2? I don't know, but maybe, everything's kind of out in front of them for them. And I think Naylor could be a beneficiary. So he's somebody that I've tapped as a breakout.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the Raiders invested a lot. $11 million a year over 3 years is pretty serious money. Maybe not for a wide receiver, anything crazy. And of course, it'll be tough to be the number one target on that team with Bowers there. But I would go as far to say that it would kind of be a disappointment if Naylor wasn't wide receiver one of that group. Even if you like Besh and Tucker, I think with how much they put behind him and how good the efficiency's been for him over the last couple of years, I have high expectations for Naylor too. I agree.
Yeah, Naylor's a cool player. He really is. I mean, I think you kind of struck it with they have their archetypes of Bowers is kind of the ultra reliable. You can just get him the ball whenever you need to. Trey Tucker is super fast. And then you've got Besh. I mean, Besh had a great catch against Will Johnson in the preseason, who I'm really high on still. And
Yeah.
Johnson had a productive year in through like the 11 or 12 games that he played, but he got his work cut out for him on that Besh catch. And then, but Naylor does feel like a very, very nice compliment to kind of everyone on the field. Like he feels like someone that could be very easy to just stay on the field consistently and reliably. And I think he does. I think you're right about him fitting into the type of routes that maybe Mendoza wants to throw. Now, maybe this
I would hope
depends on Mendoza being the starter. Maybe Kirk Cousins.
That part of it, I don't know how it'll go. I don't know how this quarterback competition will shake out. But I think it just was, these slot fades. He makes enough tough catches on him. I was like, man, there's a quarterback there that loves to throw slot fades. And the way Mendoza looked in the preseason made me think like, yeah, we could see him this season because he looks pretty solid. I don't know. You don't want to keep him on the bench too long, I think.
No,
but
I think we'll see him this season at some point.
But even if it is Kirk Cousins, like Kirk Cousins will throw a slot fade as well. I mean, it's not like he
right. It's more like gravy, the similarities between what Mendoza likes to throw and maybe what Naylor did last year, rather than the entire reason why you think he might have, a bigger statistical season than last year.
I'm willing to buy in on all these Raiders wide receivers as a potential breakout candidate. Like I kind of like them all. Like Besh too. I mean, I think about Elijah Surratt in that Indiana offense, or Drake London for the Falcons, and I look at him and he's just got Satan's gloves, as my dad would say. Like this guy sold his soul to make some of these tough catches. Oh, he said it all the time. Jordy Nelson's got Satan's gloves. Stephon Diggs got Satan's gloves.
That's a good one.
I think Jack Besh has Satan's gloves. Like it's just magnets in them. And we saw it a couple of times, like getting thrown into trap coverage in this preseason out on the perimeter, and he just catches it anyway. It doesn't seem to matter. Low catches last year that he was thrown that, happened through contact. He caught them. And I'm like, man, he's a prospect I really liked. He's looks really strong in these combat catches. And then after the catch, he can be a bit of a bear to bring down. He's a bit slow, which limits him maybe a little bit. He's kind of got this like tight end game as a wide receiver a little bit. So it's like, I just don't know if he's as talented as Naylor could end up being. And then Trey Tucker, he's super fast. I mean, he gets open downfield really effortlessly and has pretty solid deceleration as well. Caught a good amount of his on-target catches last year. I think he was it 100% of them last year? It was really high, like his catch rate last year when he was given an accurate target. So I'm like, could he be a little bit more than just a little deep threat? But maybe, I don't know. He is a pretty little deep threat. But I was like, well, this kind of opens it up. Like they can all have their role. And if Naylor's kind of the number one wide receiver, obviously Bowers is the main guy, but like Besh kind of underneath, Naylor spacing it, like Bowers running the seam, like Naylor dagger concept, Naylor slot fade with somebody kind of running the hitch underneath. I don't know. I just feel like it's really not too bad of a weapons infrastructure in LA, even though the names, not LA, in Las Vegas, even though the names aren't very big. They kind of all are intriguing.
Yeah, I think they're a team that could have spent bigger at receiver if they wanted to and chose not to. Maybe that's just because they have more faith in the dudes that are there rather than, I don't know, that they just didn't feel like it or just missed out. I will say, kind of unrelated, every time Trey Tucker comes up, I can't help but think about his touchdown against Notre Dame for Cincinnati, which is one of the worst throws of all time that has ever been completed for a touchdown. If you have not seen it, please go look it up. 2021. It is an absolute. I was watching that game back relatively recently. I was like, damn, man, we got away. That was. It's like underthrown hideously. I mean, I don't even know if it was really open and he underthrew it. It's kind of fuzzy in my mind, but on the broadcast angle, it's a classic.
No,
the broadcast deep ball
well.
stuff is always so funny, where it doesn't matter. You don't know what the route looks like on the back end. You see the quarterback cock back, and then it pans, and then it's either open or it's not. But yeah, that's that. Trey Tucker, shout out that Cincinnati team, Matt. That was a classic.
I agree.
Team.
I agree.
Trey Tucker, he's 5'8". That is and very speedy, but man, it's a little bit. There's not a lot of 5'8" like dominant wide receivers running around. But man, I watched a lot of his clips debating if I should take him or Naylor. He's not small at the catch point. He does like kind of run behind his pads when he does have the ball and spin off. So I think if you're in like a deep fantasy league or whatever, like all these Raiders receivers are pretty free down the board. And I kind of like them all a little bit. So maybe they're all my breakout candidates. Is like one of these guys is going to become a little bit more than just somebody who fits into this tiny box. I think so. Sure. We'll see who it is, but give me Naylor, I guess.
Naylor's.
Blaiden, who's your next breakout candidate?
Oh, I would love to talk about my next breakout candidate after I talk about our good friends over at Rula. Preseason, we're talking about, it's this time of year when you try to convince yourself that this random backup on your team who made 2 plays is somehow going to become your team's next big superstar. And honestly, sometimes you need someone to talk you back down to reality a little bit. Finding a therapist can already be difficult, especially when you're trying to find someone who takes your insurance. That's where Rula can help. Rula is a healthcare company that helps you find quality therapists and mental health experts who specialize in you. With care that can be covered by insurance, the average Rula patient pays about $15 per session when using insurance, although your costs, of course, can depend on benefits. And you can go over to rula.com/stayhot to get started. That's RULA.com/stayhot to find quality therapy that works with your insurance and works for you. And speaking of preseason overreactions, if you actually want to put some of those breakout predictions to the test, this episode is, of course, brought to you by our good friends over at Dabble Fantasy. One of the reasons we've been enjoying Dabble is that it feels like more than just another DFS app. You can follow your friends or creators, see what everyone's playing, and interact with people before kickoff. We'll be posting our favorite NFL future picks before the season starts, along with our weekly entries throughout the year. Make sure you follow Stay Hot Pod profile within the app. Copy our plays if you like them, leave comment, and we can sweat every Sunday together. Download Dabble today. Use code STAYHOT, and when you play your first $5, you'll get $10 in bonus cash. I'll throw out someone on this Patriots defensive line for a potential breakout candidate. Corey Durden did not play a ton for them last year, and really, but it was his first real significant time playing on an NFL defensive line. He was drafted by the Rams and then was on the Giants And so year 3 was with New England when they went to the Super Bowl. And there's kind of an opening on this defensive line, even though they still have, they still have Barmore and Williams there. But Corey Durden really has an opportunity, I think, to kind of step in. And he was a pretty productive player last year, statistically at least, or efficiency wise. His win rate rushing the passer was 18.1%, which ranks 12th among qualifying candidates. He's someone that I think has some pretty good movement skills and some pretty nice power, and he is in line to be starting on that defensive line along with Barmore and Williams. I think he could have a big breakout year, and it's one thing that I've been kind of coming around to in general is, again, this Patriots secondary really kicks ass. I'm a really big fan of it, and I think their defensive line has the potential to be better than it was last year. I'm really excited in general for, we just had our AFC East episode, and, it's very close when you look at them and the Bills. And maybe you look at the Bills' defensive line, you think that might be a more complete unit. Their pass rush might be more dialed in. But I really think it's close, and I really think the Patriots have some of the guys that really can get some quick wins, and you don't really know who you can double team here because they have a lot of guys on the interior that are big with quick hands. It can really disrupt action fast. So I like Corey Durden a lot. I think he'll be a pretty solid, not addition because he's already there, but
yeah, I like it. I mean, I think between the Patriots and Bills, if the Patriots can show a little bit of depth, that would be a huge edge for them over what the Bills have. I mean, for Buffalo, I like what they've got for a starting lineup perspective. I really don't think when I look at the starters, their run defense has to be anywhere near as bad as it was last year, especially if they're blitzing and spiking and penetrating a little bit more. Ed Oliver, Deone Walker, Greg Rousseau, like Terrell Bernard, like all those guys, they can make up the core of a good run defense. I have to believe. But I mean, if those guys start going down like last season, I mean, you start to get some of the weak links that led to the Bills being as bad as they were last season. But for the Patriots, who far outclassed the Bills in every category, basically last season and got to the Super Bowl, if they can just, they've got their starters too with Milton Williams and Barmore, like you said, but guys like Durden and having these kind of waves of dudes who are proven to be useful, that's something that I just don't know if I trust the Bills to have. And Durden, he's somebody who is big, like tall, but still got some weight to him. And yeah, I don't know as much about him as you probably, Blaiden, but yeah, the numbers and the depth are going to be, the numbers are good and the depth is going to be important. And man, every D line gets platooned. So you can be second tier and be a breakout.
There were they had a game against his former team, the Giants, last year, right? I thought he did a really good job stacking and just, I don't know, his hand placement seems really nice. And I think any rotation of this orientation of the defensive line right now just feels very strong. I mean, they lost Tonga, so you're really looking for someone to step up and kind of take that role. And I think Durden can do it. He's gonna have to. He's the guy, right? That's
someone's got
Someone's gotta.
But so. Tonga is no small loss at all. He was a really important part of that Patriots defense, and he's not really a pass rusher at all. In fact, I just looked it up. He has half a career sack. So if they're getting more pass rush out of another member down there on the interior, I mean, what already was one of the biggest strengths of the team would become even stronger. So I think that's a good shout. And I would argue that, it's a really good environment to be in with other pass rushers on the interior to stop you from seeing too much attention.
Right. Yeah. So I just keep getting more excited about the Patriots, dude. Like, I really do think they have a shot to come out of the AFC again.
They do. They do. I'm still mulling my Bills over Patriots division pick. I can't lie.
It's tough.
Me too.
It's tough.
I think I might go Patriots to be
the fuck out after
it's mostly that one of all the picks that I've made so far. There was something else in the NFC. I was on Nerd Sesh the other day, and that episode will come out soon. But as much as anything, man, the Patriots are stressing me out because I think on paper that defense still looks pretty good. I think I would take the Bills defensive line or the Patriots defensive line over Buffalo's. Maybe I'm letting my visions of them without Ed Oliver cloud my memory too much here. And maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into like where they were overall last year because they improved so much.
Sure.
Even though like the season long numbers were not that great. And I do think those season long numbers are usually pretty reliable, but I think that's one I might have to.
The addition of
switch
Bradley
on as
Chubb
we get
is
towards the
pretty
season.
big. I mean, if they can have Chubb and Ed Oliver and Rousseau and Deion Walker all healthy for the full season, that's pretty special. But that's a big if. Like all of
I think
those
I agree.
guys.
I think they'll be better in run. I don't think their run defense is going to be as bad as it was last year, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
I don't know if that necessarily makes them.
Well, I'm a little
Patriots-
worried about the
Patriots
Patriots run defense this year too, because like I don't know if I really love their linebackers right now. That might be kind of the weak link on this defense. And for as good statistically as Durden is as a pass rusher, he's like towards the bottom in like run stuff rate. So not nearly
I don't
as
know.
good, but it's kind of a small sample size also.
The gap, I mean, not to derail this segment, but like
Yeah.
the gap between the secondaries really is pretty big.
It's bad.
I know the Bills had like a good secondary last year. I don't know. Maybe that's overselling, but they're going to be running something completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different. There's way more pressure on the corners than last year. And like, the Patriots lost some players on this defense, sure, but at the same time, like if you just read the list of guys who are going to be starting in that secondary, it still sounds pretty trustworthy to me. Davis, Woodson, Byard, Gonzalez, Jones.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong overall. And if we're debating the defensive lines, then you better be really high on Buffalo's linebackers, not to oversimplify it. But the Patriots are an aggressive defense too.
Yeah.
So I think the Bills getting more aggressive is a good thing. I don't know. I'll have to keep
the Patriots
thinking
can
about that
afford
one,
to be
I guess.
aggressive because they've got like one of the best man corners in the sport. And now they've got a ball hawking safety in Byard. Like there's and Marcus Jones is a ball hog. Like they've got a lot of guys in that secondary that can make a lot of plays. Buffalo, I mean, Harrison's good, but you're asking for a big breakout responsibility if they're going to be running more man with him now. So it is tough.
He can be good and not Gonzalez. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I do still think I like the Patriots here, but they don't have Josh Allen. So even though like,
but I think May is great too. I think May is a type of guy who led an awesome offense in spite of a poor situation. I think he's one of my top 5, top 6 quarterbacks in the NFL, depending on like how some of the top guys are healthy. And even that is kind of based on a small sample size of poor performances in the playoffs in a poor situation, where he kind of got a bad break in that, like we talked about this before, but he kind of got a bad break in the sense of he was playing poorly, but they kept winning. So he kept going up against awesome defenses to continue to play poorly against. And he made mistakes, but also it was a really tough situation. A lot of the times, like if guys are in that place, like at least Herbert was just kind of one and done, and didn't have to go then play Seattle in the Super Bowl or whatever. And it's like, well, it's just not going to go good. It's not going to work out. So I don't know.
It's not just that he played tough defenses. He played like the top 5 pass rushing units, like 3 of the top 5 pass rushing units in a row. It's tough, man. It's really brutal.
I think, I mean, this is an extension of last episode now, but I just, I go back and forth and it's stressing me out because I watched the Bills defensive tape and thought there's more in the cupboard here than I kind of thought. And I thought there's more in the cupboard here than maybe shows statistically based on last season.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me think like, oh man, you give Allen a defense that kind of rebounds and DJ Moore, and it's Josh Allen who's, in it at the end every year. Like, man, it's going to be that sounds like a recipe to be really good. But I mean, AJ Brown just might be the trump card. I mean, that's a wide receiver who's building a real case to go to Canton one day, I think. Like, it's pretty borderline. He needs a really strong end of career here. But I mean, if he
There's a
balls
big
out with
pile up of wide receivers.
If he
He's
balls
one of the
out
10
with the
best receivers in the NFL right now.
Yes.
if he balls out with the Patriots, like, he kind of gets in that tier of like, man, he's been a part of a Super Bowl team, and like, man, just you'd have to look beyond the stats.
He needs like a competing for offensive player of the year level season. He just does not have one yet. And I agree with the idea that he's just been in horrible offenses to do it. He really has never gotten a break where he's like in somewhere that really wants to throw with a good quarterback.
That he began with Tannehill on the Titans, because him on the Titans, I think, still was a different level of him on the Eagles, and he's amazing on the Eagles. But on the Titans, I think he was literally Jamar Chase. Like, the level of yak that he was at in those years while being the best guy versus press in the entire league, like, I actually think he was just Jamar Chase in those times. And the yak hasn't quite stayed with him, maybe to the level it has with Jamar as he's gotten older. But still, I mean, he's such a serious route runner and contested catch guy. I mean, I still think about that diving, falling down slant he caught behind him with one catch with one hand last season, and think, like, pairing that with May, and if the defensive results could be a little bit better. Basically, the Patriots and the Bills might be the AFC Championship game is kind of what I'm.
That very well could happen, but there's so many teams in the AFC, it's tough to say. I will say this, for all of the DVOA talk I give the Patriots, you know, they had a better offense last year by DVOA than the Bills. And they have, I think, more young guys that I expect to grow. And yeah, like DJ Moore could be a nice addition, but the Patriots added AJ Brown, who, of course, we have some concerns about, but it's not like we're not concerned about DJ Moore statistically struggling a little bit. And while you can get behind DJ Moore potentially bouncing back, if AJ Brown is like 100% and good to go, he could be one of the best statistical receivers in the NFL. I think the Patriots receivers clear Buffalo's even outside of like Moore and Brown. I think the Bills are working from a lower place in that sense. Now, maybe you feel like Kincaid can make up for some of that, but I don't know. I'm talking myself into the Patriots a little more. I think I'm maybe weighting the breaks that they got last year too heavily into my analysis this season. There's a balance with it.
It is.
And
yeah. Well,
it is. Their top six receivers, Matt, to your point: AJ Brown, Dobbs, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams. Like last year, those last four, that was the core. That's who was out there most of the time, right? Plus Diggs. But if Kyle Williams is like in that second or third rotation of guys coming out, you feel pretty good, I think. And say, like, if Boutte's in that second rotation of guys coming out, you feel really good about this.
Well, who knows if he'll actually be on the team? I think they should just keep him. I really do. Maybe he wants a bigger role.
Solid last year. Like, he was pretty good. And I don't know. I wouldn't want to.
He was a good deep threat, and then there would be reps versus man where he would just get like shoved around, and the Patriots had like no chance of separating, like in the Super Bowl. And he, I think, was one of the guiltiest parties of just like being completely prey to physical corners when like they really were able to kind of dial in and press. But like the go ball tracking and like the catch versus Stingley, for example. I mean, he had so many of those plays last season. You look at the stats and you're like, holy cow, like Boutte is, I mean, I went through a lot of stats for this episode, and he's somebody that's stood out to me as like kind of having this tier 1 on target catch rate that I was looking at. Like he really was reliable when he got targeted. But of course, if he's blanketed, you're not getting targeted. And that was the issue with Boutte last season. But I mean, I feel like you could keep him on the roster as a deep threat. I mean, the Packers had MVS for years, and he was so frustrating because he would drop so many passes. But like, man, you just got to hit a couple of go balls over the course of the season, and you're adding like more points to the offense than some guys. That like Wan'Dale Robinson could catch 50 passes, and it's worth like 10 Kayshon Boutte passes because of the depth downfield of which they happen.
Right.
I think I would
they'll
keep him.
pay guys, they'll roster guys who just get open downfield and can't get to the damn ball. So Kayshon Boutte certainly has a role. I mean, I think there's plenty of teams where it's like, we'll take somebody who can just win on the outside in that sense all day. A lot of good teams are looking for a guy like that. So
Yeah, he had
I don't
an
know.
ADOT of 17.5, which among guys with at least 182 targets ranks fourth behind Thornton, Pierce, and Watson, ahead of Isaiah Bond and Adonai Mitchell.
With at least 182 targets?
182
yards?
It says minimum
run.
20% of 182.
Okay.
Yes. No, sorry. I was like, did I read that wrong? I did read that wrong.
So like 35 targets. Okay.
Yeah, 35 targets ish. But he had a 71% catch rate, which like all those other guys are in like the low to mid 50s. Christian Watson was at 63, which is still really high. For Boutte to be at 71 is pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
So you take that if you can.
Speaking of the Bills and breakout candidates, one name that I kind of kicked around was Dorian Williams, their linebacker. He's a little undersized. He's like 6'1", 230, but he's a physical, penetrating linebacker who, can kind of take on half a blocker and keep his shoulders square and stay ready to tackle and kind of tackle through contact. He's kind of a missile in that way. And that's kind of been his role for a while. And if they're getting more blitz heavy, if they're getting more, heavy boxes, an undersized guy like that, there could be a role there. I'm looking at his missed tackle rate. PFF doesn't like it, but Sports Info Solutions does, which is kind of interesting. So different charting platforms have him with different missed tackle rates. I personally think like his ability to make one-arm tackles in the box kind of through contact impressed me more than anything. And I'll be interested to see if he can finally be more part of a solution for the Bills than part of a problem. But I don't know if I feel good enough about him, his processing, his size to say like this is a full-blown breakout candidate, or if he's more of like a fulcrum player that will determine like if the Bills season goes good or bad. I don't know if I'm like confident enough to actually make a call on that, but I think he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Breakout candidates is a tough one. The next guy that I went with, I feel like maybe already kind of broke out last season and now is just going to get a bigger role, but Dallas Turner is one of the guys who I think is going to be a pretty vital player for the Vikings next year. I mean, they've invested a lot in him, not only in terms of the draft capital, but now letting Grenard walk. Clearly, they believe in him as the guy. So there's going to be more pressure on him to be the leader of that pass rush and their biggest one-on-one winner of probably anybody on that defense. And of course, Flores can scheme up a lot of stuff, but you still have to have that guy who is a threat. Turner is not somebody that we loved coming out of college, but I think he looked really good last year. I mean, the suddenness that he plays with, his get off and his speed is pretty unbelievable. He is certainly fast enough to threaten outside against almost any tackle in the NFL, and his bend backs it up as well. And then he can build a power game on top of that. Now, he's pretty light, and you figure, I don't know if he would be able to hold up against the run, but I think when you watch, you're really impressed by his ability not only to hold up, but to really play multiple gaps if he needs to. His length and the strength in his hands gives him the ability to really hold guys away from his frame and then make a decision one way or the other and get into the backfield. But he also can be somebody scraping from the outside to come in and make a play on runs away from him. So on the whole, I think that there's a lot of pieces still here in Minnesota that I'm excited about, and I'm always excited about Flores and his creativity. But if there's any, I guess, pressure on somebody to break out more and somebody who really has to step up and be like, not just a dude who's got some good numbers or some good efficiency, but really needs to be one of the key pass rushers for one of the best defenses in the NFL, it's Turner, and I think he's going to be able to do it.
Dallas Turner is certainly, I think one thing that I underestimated with him is just how fluid and flexible he is. And I think that I mean, it helps him obviously as a pass rusher, but I think to your point, Matt, it also helps him a lot in run defense where he can just contort his body in such weird ways. He can like plant a foot and like spin around like a Beyblade almost. Like he's just so nimble along with being so quick and like being able to have that level of bend and being able to really sink your hips and turn in various directions so easily. It's something that will always be
I completely agree. He very naturally plays low. It's easy for him. He's a long guy who he has an easy time playing low and then forklifting people again with that excellent length. I just think he's super impressive the back half of last year.
I mean, you saw it in the preseason game, getting a sack on Jackson Dart, right? He's able to get low, and Dart's trying to like maneuver and get away from him, but Turner's more agile and quick.
You and me could lay a big hit on Jackson Dart, it seems. So I don't know how much.
Give me a couple of months before I can lay a big hit on Jackson Dart.
They're getting big hit. Look, it was Tyrone Tracy's fault. I liked his post game press conference. He's like, I don't understand why I'm always in the blue 10. It seems like every time I get hit, I'm in the blue 10. I'm like, bro, you get crushed, dude. After he got crushed,
my most creamed quarterback. Why am I on the sideline right now?
And after he got hit,
maybe the fact that he doesn't know that why he's getting in the blue tent is a red flag.
It is a red flag, bro. It is a red flag. He got killed.
Yeah.
And he laid on the ground in that preseason game. He like rolled over like he was at major pain, and there's a concussion specialist up in the booth, and his only job is to wonder who might have a concussion. And when you get killed,
we got it.
That
Brian
guy might be like
playing quarterback
as
for
the
Blue.
concussion finder, like you just got hit in the head. That's why you're in the blue tent, bro. But he did have a very nice, the touchdown that he threw. He came back. I don't know why he came back into that preseason game.
That's what
he did.
That's what I'm talking about. Where it's like, it doesn't matter. Get him out of there, dude.
See, here's the thing, though. I can tell you for a fact, when it was Cam Newton doing that shit, and he did that shit all the time, he was a soldier to 14-year-old me going into the tent and coming back out and playing through it. So if I was a Giants fan, I'd probably feel relatively similar.
Yeah. It's just he went. I think he was in the concussion. I think he had 5 concussion tests last year. Was in the protocol like a bunch of times, and I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. It's not nothing. I actually feel confident that it is not nothing that he's always getting lit up like that.
It's bad. It's bad. He needs to protect himself, and concussions are dangerous. So,
but it was a sick touchdown. He did come back and redeem himself. But anyway, going back to Dallas Turner, he seems a little bit less than the sum of his parts to me. A little bit. I mean, he was very productive last season. Had a great pressure rate. And then you look at his traits and you're like, wow, he's long. He can drop and cover people. He can bend under a table. That combined with the, statistical production coming along, like what's not to like? And when you go through and you watch all of his pressures, I feel like there's just still a lot he needs to prove as a one-on-one winner versus tackles. I think with all the blitzes the Vikings send, he can get matched up with tight ends when the tackles get taken up by linebacker blitzes. And like, if you bend around Colston Loveland, that's a very different thing than bending around Penei Sewell or something like that. And I think he still needs to prove that he's that one-on-one winner that Grenard was like against tackles. And he still needs to prove that his length and his ability to kind of win that first contact. Does he have the leg drive and the bull rush to kind of go along with that length and always do the right thing versus all the different sets that you get? So for him, it's still up in the air for me, but I think that if you're going through like, oh, who could break out next year, there's
the guy with the traits with the good production and a bigger role,
like,
whose team is betting on him on a great defense, is hopefully a good bet. Yeah, that's a fair point to make. I forget which tight end it was against the Lions, but he got matched up and beat that guy around the edge, and he missed the block and straight up went like horizontal in the air trying to get his hands on Turner. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good point with the tight ends. There certainly is a
It's a
few
lot
more
of
reps of
losers,
him
tight
doing
ends,
that.
more than
Well,
other edges.
there's a balance too, because like they had multiple different guys that he was filling in for injured, right? Because it wasn't just Grenard, it was Van Ginkel. So he kind of moved around a little bit, and those two dudes play different roles. So maybe he'll be more in the Grenard role, which I feel like is a little bit more down and just straight up pass rushing. Not entirely, but more so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Dallas Turner's a good shout, even though like you mentioned, like, yeah, he did kind of already break out. Like another guy I was thinking of, Latu, is maybe a guy who's kind of in line for a bigger role that had some decent production last year. But you know, I was like, well, did he kind of already break out a little bit? But
In your eyes, at least, he totally did. I think you've thought Latu has broken out since the day he stepped on the field.
bro,
I'm not even talking NFL.
He's so goated, bro.
In what way do you feel like Latu is due for a bigger role?
Well, I don't know if bigger role is necessarily it, but I think having some players that you trust more to go downhill, I'm hopeful that maybe he'll just be able to get some better pass rushing looks.
Yeah,
like
I can see that, where they're not asking him to contain all the time. I could see it. I could see it.
But also it's Luan Arumo, so he's one of those guys that kind of just stays in his own thing and he doesn't change up ever. But what he does works, you know, for the most part. But I could see him maybe just having like just having maybe more opportunities to blitz and maybe having pin his ears back a little bit more. But again, I don't know if that's something that Lou actually wants to do over there in Indy. One guy that I will throw out. Oh, go ahead, Theo. Go ahead.
The Colt that I'm always waiting for a breakout on is Aditamawa Adibare. I'm reading that straight off the phonics guide. So the phonics guide. So
yes,
sorry if I messed up your name, Aditamawa, but he's number 95. I know that, and he was a 10 RAS guy. He's one of the most athletic defensive tackles to ever live. And I watch him in these preseason games over the last 3 years, and every time I'm like, this is Aaron Donald, bro. Like, he's not Aaron Donald. Nobody is. I should say that. But his first step, I mean, even in regular season games, like his first step at defensive tackle is so out of this world alien. I'm like, how can he not break out? He's got it, man. Like, no, he can penetrate through a gap in a flash of an eye, and he's so long in his arms. He's got some nice reps against the run where he holds up. He can really hold you off and just win in a variety of different ways. Kind of like Dallas Turner, right? It's like this guy's got such length and such get off that, like, how can it not come together? And last year he had some decent production as well, like an 11% pressure rate, 1 out of every 10 snaps. You'll take that for a defensive tackle. It's one of the better numbers from any Colts pass rusher over the last couple of years. It was a career high for him. I think PFF had him with 35 pressures overall, which was a substantial jump over where he's been in the past. And I'm like, is this the year where it happens? Like, there was a little mini breakout last year where he started to see some regular season production. I think he had 4.5 sacks after being like at 1 the first 2 years of his career, and he started to stack a couple of them. And it's like, could he pop someday here? I don't know if he fully has the, like, he's almost overactive where, like, guys are like really flying around. Sometimes playing defensive tackle is about being subtle and just like waiting and being powerful. And with him, it's more like such high flying energy that, like, a slide his way can kind of kill him because he runs himself out of gas too quickly, or just has reps that don't look pretty. And I like guys who kind of have reps that look pretty all the time, and you can pause them and they're always doing the right thing. And I'm just not sure that's him. But man, the high end tape with him just seems to be getting better and better for such a supremely freak athlete. He's someone to really keep an eye on in that Colts defensive line rotation.
All righty. Colts are an interesting team too. Like I feel like if they hit their ceiling, dude, they're as good as anyone. But there's just so many question marks right now. One other guy that I'll shout out, we talked about him briefly a little bit earlier, is Will Johnson. He got beat by Besh. Well, it wasn't really got beat. Will Johnson did what he always does, which is he's got this like great reaction time. He's very patient, but when he sees something, he's ready to close on in an instant. And we talk about late hands all the time with receivers. He's got this late punch that like the ball hits the receiver's hand right as Will Johnson's hand is firing in there to break it up. And that's what he did against Besh. Besh just had stronger hands on that play. But Will Johnson, I really do think is another bright spot on this Cardinals team where it does make me pretty excited for, the future of Arizona. Maybe not so much this year because they don't have a quarterback and it's a really tough schedule. But, we talk about they've got some guys on their defensive line, and Will Johnson was very productive last year in the games that he played. And he's just, if he can stay healthy, he's got the patience and the reaction time and the timing to break passes up without getting penalized too much. I really do think he's got, really good, just a really good skill set. He's great at, having the hand on the hip, and he doesn't even always have to turn his head around to make the play as much as he just waits for the receiver's hands to shoot. And once his hands go up, he's just going to punch the ball out, right? Because these receivers are always taught, don't show your hands too early. But Will Johnson is just really good at timing it at the last second. I know he has a really good breakup against Drake London where he does that. So Will Johnson's the guy that I thought had a good rookie year. But I think entering this year he's going to be a really key piece for Arizona.
Yeah, just need to stay healthy for him. He's always banged up.
I know.
That's always his issue.
And it's always been his issue. So it's tough. And it's why, he got drafted later is because of the injury concerns, even though he was very productive in college and was, all this massive technician in college as well as he is currently in the NFL, but just couldn't stay healthy at Michigan. Right. And so that's what he needs to be, but he is a good player. I'm fully convinced he is.
I have a question for you guys. Were there any breakout quarterbacks that you thought about or that you have on your list?
I tried to stay away from fantasy guys, to be honest with you, just because we had already talked so much, but I can glance and think for a second about who it might be. I mean, AFC East, I would say probably nobody unless you're buying into like Geno recovery. AFC North, you'd have to be looking at one of the Steelers rookies, or you'd have to be bought into one of the Browns guys, most likely. AFC South, would a Stroud bounce back be a breakout?
Yeah.
Stroud would be on the table as an option. Ward, obviously there. Jones, I wouldn't say would be a breakout. He broke out last year, regardless of what you think he's going to do. AFC West, I'd say nobody would really fit that category unless like Knicks went MVP mode or something, right? Knicks, the thing is that because Knicks is already like solid, he'd have to be like really pushing for something special. I could see the argument for that, especially if you like the Waddle edition. NFC East, Dart, I guess, if he was really good, or maybe if like Hurts had a huge bounce back, but that doesn't count. I don't think.
And he's always he's a good fantasy quarterback anyway.
If you finish third in MVP voting, it's tough to call you a breakout. Or I think he was second, actually.
Yeah.
Caleb's already on the cover of Madden. Even if he wins MVP, that's not a breakout. Right. Looking at the NFC North now, Kyler could be a bounce back, but not a breakout. Maybe if Love went crazy, you would say this is the year that he sort of became Love, but I don't know.
Anything can become a breakout if they're good enough. If
they're
Love
good
won
enough.
MVP, that would be like a breakout, even though he's
right.
Not
what would a breakout for Stafford be?
Well, that's
a good question.
If he ran for 600 yards,
if he started flying,
I'm imagining Matthew
It's a whole different
Stafford in
ballgame.
his cryo chamber and his red light therapy, and all of a sudden he's got bionic legs.
Shuck. Shuck would be a guy that would really make sense for this, where he's only played half a season. The passing offense really wasn't that great, but if you buy into the receivers and the offense as a whole, maybe Shuck could be that guy. And then NFC West, you'd have to be like, I mean, you'd be talking rookies or Brissett, right? Because everybody else is pretty established. There's just not as many options that really fit that like guy who has not been good yet and also is not like a rookie, because that doesn't count.
Bryce.
But I would say like Bryce. Yeah, Bryce fits that mold.
Bryce was the closest quarterback I could think of. Like, I don't know if it'll happen, and I'm not like dying to be high on the Panthers or anything, but you know, I'm going down the quarterbacks and trying to find some guys who could fit the bill at the sexiest position. And I got to Bryce, and I when I kind of combed through the numbers, the thing I found was how much he had kind of improved his accuracy under pressure. I was looking at on target rate under pressure, and he was at 53% as a rookie in 2023, and then 67.3% in 2024, and then 72.4% last year. And that's the nice thing about what Bryce has done over the last couple of years, is you've started to see a little bit more of that like magic under pressure that made him the first overall pick, like that cool, calm, like ability to get skinny and fit through an impossible crease and pop out on the other side untouched. And those plays where he kind of fits himself into the context of the pocket around him and kind of does the right thing is different, honestly. And when you look through some of the other positions, like I kind of kept thinking about Bryce Young, and I'm like, I was looking at like Jawan Briggs, for example, a defensive tackle with really good pressure numbers for the New York Jets. And he's big and he's got a bull rush, but it's like, does he quite have the creativity of like a Bryce Young? I know it's hard to compare a defensive tackle to a quarterback, but like, does he have the range of solutions? Does Dorian Williams have a range of solutions? Is he as creative finding answers as Bryce Young? And the answer is like not even close. Like,
well, but are those positions that ask for as much creativity as quarterback? I think that's kind of unfair.
It's not a position that asks for as much creativity as quarterback, I don't think, but they're just more like one-dimensional kind of players. Like they're just kind of this. There's nothing that I don't know, like like I'm going to go back to Aaron Donald, who plays defensive tackle. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of set you get. Like, he's going to do what he has to do to, get by the guy. Or another guy who I think could do a lot is like Deone Walker for the Bills last year. Such a big dude. He's got a little bit of power, but also like can swim you or dip and use some speed and like bend in kind of a weird way. Like he's kind of this all-encompassing athlete, I feel like, where no matter what you do to him, like he can kind of find that solution. Or, you know, any great player can do that. And when I'm looking for breakouts and kind of, or the Raiders who we talked about earlier, like everybody's kind of got their thing that they're good at in one aspect. Who actually combines it all? And for Bryce, like, it's fair to call him a bad quarterback for these last couple of years, or one of the lower ranking ones when you look at all the statistics. But he's really
had a very bad passing offense.
They've had a very bad passing offense during his reign there. But the solutions he's able to find and the creativity that he has, it's better than a lot of bad players, I think, throughout the league. It's something that makes him stand out.
I agree, but his creative solutions are often solving things that are a problem for him because of his limitations. I think that's part of the problem. I will say the other thing I'm now remembering that I was really worried about after the Nerd Sesh episode where we ranked the whole, am I hating on my boys too much? Because, I gave my whole, like, I'm low on the Panthers spiel that they got lucky last year and that they really haven't gotten that much better. And they're already like, well, I guess Freeling is starting week 1. Never mind. We have to, because both of our starting tackles are out to start the season and like that type of shit. And like, they're already like, well, if Jalen Phillips doesn't stay healthy, we have 0 chance at edge rusher and like that type of stuff. But Bryce did get better last year. He did. And I really do think at least the Coker, like if Coker can be a solid player on the outside from day one, the receiver room is still improved from what it was last year. So, and I don't like that. I feel like I've been about right on them the last couple of years saying that they'll be scrappier. So I'm trying not to get too low on the guys because nothing's worse than when you're watching them and they do well and then you're like, damn, I was doubting my squad. I can't even really like be happy about this, but at the same time, then that's the type of thing where you're like, screw it there, and then they lose to the Browns week 3.
Right, must win. Yeah, the real question about a Bryce Young breakout is like, has his environment improved materially enough to allow something different than what we've seen? And Coker is really, maybe that becomes a Coker breakout question.
I think Waller is a real ad.
And Waller is a real ad. I was thinking that as well. And
I think it's looking bad. Yeah, they are. But the tackles are both going to be out, and it's going to be Walker and rookie Freeling, who has played 12 games or whatever in college. I mean, Freeling could be a good. How many good tackles are like actually pretty mediocre for their first like 3 seasons before they start to become real players?
Yeah, I think about Andrew Thomas, like how off, like he was a joke how bad he was to begin.
Yep.
They're probably not going to be great at tackle. Their offensive line is probably going to be worse. They also lost Cade Mays. It's an entirely different offensive line, essentially. It is. Outside of Damian Lewis, entirely it's a different offensive line and 2 games of Hunt. Although Hunt, of course, is a positive
Hunt is
ad.
sick, so like that's a good change.
Right.
Here's the question for the Panthers, though. At the time, after Bryce and Stroud's rookie year, it was looking like the Panthers made a big mistake taking Bryce or trading up to number 1 to take Bryce. It's gotten a little more even now. Could you make the case that the Panthers have the best quarterback from the 2023 draft class?
Richardson still has
I was gonna say, like, I don't know. I know how things have looked lately, but I would still take Richardson. Damn it!
It killed me. Literally the first like tweet of preseason that I saw was like, after an interception that didn't appear to be his fault, Anthony Richardson rebounded. I was like, why is this like how it begins? The 2026 season is like,
it didn't appear to be like, his fault. And it appears that the wide receiver dropped it and there was a pick 6 like straight through his hands, not fully extended. It appears that
already got to be like, well, it wasn't. All you really have to think about is the fumble. But man,
so
not great.
I would still take Stroud.
Yeah, probably. Well, we talk a lot about football here, but I want to talk about something real quick that actually will get used in our real world. We love football, but none of us are going to be out there in the NFL very, very soon. Also, side tangent, before I even get into this ad, someone responded to my tweet of me at the gym, and I'm like, yeah, 4 months post ACL surgery. And someone's like, why did you get knee surgery? Are you playing in the NFL? It's like, no, but I tore my ACL. I'm going to get surgery on it. I just thought that was weird. But anyway, everyone loves grilling, and the second you start cooking something besides burgers and steaks, things can kind of get crazy, get a little annoying very fast, whether it be food sticks, vegetables falling through the grates, fish falls apart, and then you got to somehow spend longer cleaning than you did cooking. That's why Hexclad's barbecue collection tool is so cool. Their barbecue grill pan lets you cook things like vegetables, seafood, and fish right on the grill without losing everything through the grates and while still letting the heat and smoke through. And it's dishwasher safe, so cleanup is super easy as well. Shout out Hexclad and their barbecue collection for that. If you're going to be grilling this summer, you can check out Hexclad's barbecue collection and get 10% off by going to hexclad.com/stayhot. Again, that is hexclad.com/stayhot. Your code there is stay hot. Are there any other breakouts that you guys wanted to talk about? I had one more that I kind of wanted to throw out, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen just because I don't think he's going to get enough burn for it to be prominent. That's Tesla.
Who would that be?
It's Isaac Tesla. He is sick. Like, he really is. He's so physical at the catch point. He's got really strong hands, although he did have a terrible drop that got picked off against the Bengals. But for the most part, he's got really, really good hands. There's already so many weapons on this Lions offense between St. Brown.
Yeah, like what does a breakout for Tesla look like is my question, I guess.
Exactly.
The role is just so brutal. Like, you could be pretty good and it just isn't the opportunity there. Maybe he becomes like such a fearsome red zone threat. If he got like double-digit touchdowns, you would say, all right, that'd be probably a breakout, even if it's on like 30 catches or something, because he's that good of a red zone weapon. And then you start talking about, if he was in a different situation, what would he do, and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is just tough because I'm like, how many targets did he even get last year? I don't even.
Probably 30, I would guess.
He had
36.
He had 16 receptions and 6 touchdowns. I feel like he perfectly fits the mold of a breakout candidate for that reason. I mean, whenever they targeted him in a limited capacity, he made a spectacular catch for a touchdown. And like, what are you doing if you don't throw that guy the ball more often after having the highest rate of sick plays to target ratio in the history of the NFL? So I think he fits the bill perfectly as a breakout candidate. But the problem is, like, it's a little bit tough to see, if this was even the Packers, right, or any other team in this division, I feel like it would be a little bit easier to see, like, they'll make room for him after this breakout campaign. But like, man, J-Mo, I feel like, is another kind of candidate who has the ability to take his game to even a different level, even though he's been an 1,000-yard receiver in the past. Amon-Ra is one of the biggest target hogs in the entire league, and for good reason. So much of the offense runs through Jahmyr Gibbs, and then of course Laporta is coming back. And
Laporta missed half the year.
And Tesla is dropping passes in the preseason and hasn't had reports of a very strong camp. So maybe preseason doesn't matter at all. Maybe he's Cam Ward Blaiden, but it's not trending like, it's all going to be peaches and cream for Tesla in 2026. Yeah. But he does fit the mold as a breakout candidate. I completely agree. He's super intriguing.
Without injury, he like has to be at best 5th in targets, right? Unless he were to go like completely psycho mode and like break out in a monster way.
Yeah, it's crazy because he's the 3rd receiver listed on the ESPN depth chart.
And then there's Laporta and Gibbs, and even if you don't count Gibbs, and he's like pass catcher 4 essentially. It's like, that's just a tough situation to be in when there's 3 guys who all are going to be commanding triple-digit targets most likely, or close to it.
Yeah. Maybe the only way this works out for you is that they just throw the ball so much more this year because their defense might not be as good, with the question marks of Branch and Joseph. Mm-hmm. And so they just have to throw it so much because they're in all these shootouts. And so by default, Tesla gets some more burn because of that. And he gets 50 targets this year.
Yeah. I mean, even if he got 800 yards next year, like, that's not a total that'll win you any awards or anything, but like, it's still a breakout.
That would be a breakout, but that would require bare minimum like 70 targets, and that's saying he's, as a red zone threat, probably more, right?
Yep.
So I think I would say even like 500 yards and double-digit touchdowns.
Double-digit touchdowns, he might just get in 10 targets. Like, that's how crazy.
I would say
double-digit touchdowns is in the range of possibilities. I'm with you there, Matt.
I would say if he's viewed more solidly as like he's kind of their big red zone guy, and maybe he doesn't get like 80 or 90 targets, or maybe he's not going to go for like enough yards to be more than anything other than like an interesting best ball play in fantasy. But I do think he's got that could be a path for him, I should say.
Yeah. I took him I have him on, I think, one fantasy team where I did last year, and obviously he did next to nothing for me for most of the year, but every once in a while he would show up statistically a little bit. But do you guys have anyone else that you wanted to hit on here?
I hope and I pray one Packer defensive lineman breaks out. I have to think that one of them does.
Anybody on the defense, fuck it. I'll take whoever.
Give me any Browns offensive player, dude.
It's unbelievable how bad Green Bay's other defensive linemen were at cleaning up Micah's pressure. It's really crazy how often he forced guys off the spot, and there is just nobody there, whether it be Gary or like Carl Brooks.
Gary was bad about that.
He was really bad at that. And Micah's just so good at doing that. Like, getting 10 sacks next to him should not be that hard. It really shouldn't. I look at Javon Hargrave, as somebody who could potentially get back to some old numbers just playing next to Micah Parsons for, hopefully 3/4 of the season or something close to that. Hargrave, I don't think he hasn't been a very good run defender in years, but and I was disappointed because I want the Packers to have a run stuffing nose so bad in a division with the Lions and the Bears and things like that. He's just not that.
Yeah.
So when they first signed him, I was like, oh, this is just not the nose solution that I want. But going back and watching him, he still has some pass rush juice and was really good at winning quickly last year. I think he had over 20 quick pressures last season, which is like a pretty good starting defensive tackle number to be at. And if he's still got that quick pressure ability and Micah comes back, like, he could be the guy that the Packers need to actually clean up some of these sacks. And I think that maybe a different defensive coordinator could dial in those paths a little bit more. I mean, in the preseason, Gannon came out with his foot on the gas, blitzing people, and they got a sack on their first play against some of the Steelers' starting offensive linemen. Zaire Franklin, I think, got that sack, and Sorrell and Van Ness kind of under pushed the pocket. So it doesn't have to be Hargrave. Like, I don't know. It could be Van Ness. He's somebody that's always kind of looked a little bit better year over year. Brenton Cox is another guy kind of who went from undrafted guy deep in the lineup to kind of working his way up, and he also had a good one-on-one sack in the preseason. So I don't know who it'll be, but somebody please in Green Bay compliment Micah Parsons. I'm begging you. It's crazy to think like the Packers have somebody like better than Will Anderson. That's what I've thought about the other day. Like, Will Anderson is an unbelievable player, second defensive player of the year voting. The Packers just like have somebody that good or better than that. And that should matter. That should matter more than it did. And so they need a Danielle Hunter is what they need, or they need some running mate to Micah. And it's a big environment for a breakout candidate because of his existence.
Yeah. My other guy that I think is like, I don't know. I think Charlie Kohler, who we've been pronouncing his name wrong, so my apologies. So the thing about Kohler is, like, I don't really know where he's going to be as a receiver. He's more of a guy where it's like he's fast enough as an inline dude and can catch well enough so where you can get him work like through the seam or like on crossers, rather than him being somebody who's going to go out and like run choice routes or some shit like that, most likely. But he is the most heavily invested tight end in this room pretty considerably. And I wonder if there's space for him not only to get more receiving work, but to be viewed as sort of like the number one guy who is good, but is block first. And in this new meta of the NFL where, like, we're seeing more 12 personnel, we're valuing these blockers more. I wonder if he's kind of the first guy who really fits that mold in like the public eye, if you know what I mean. Because for the most part, it's like your number one tight end is whoever just receives the most. And if you have a block first guy who's number one, like, you're just bad at tight end. He could maybe change the script here a little bit between, like, I just think the situation's right where there's already a guy who did a lot receiving last year in Gadsden, but maybe he kind of gets phased out for somebody who blocks more. And in the McDaniels system, like you could see him really get out in space and be a weapon, and asked to kind of like move a lot as a blocker too. And that could give him more highlight work. I don't know. I think there's potential for that to be the case with him, but that's less like a true breakout. Although I do think he's going to see more snaps than he did last year. He was only at 40%. And even though that's a career high, that's really not that high. It does kind of feel like maybe the view on him could change a little bit, I guess. But I'm also a little biased towards him because he saved my ass in the 32-team league. I started him for both of his touchdown catches.
Oh, shout out.
That will always
Shout out.
That will always shift your perspective on a player forever. If you have a deep cut player that scores a touchdown for you. I was very sad to see Terrell Jennings go on IR for the Patriots, replaced by Hasty, because I started Terrell Jennings one time for his one career touchdown, which was great.
Dude, I like, not to make this about the 32-team league, bro, my 3 of my top 4 picks either were bad or got injured or a combination of both. It was just Dak, and then I had Neighbors, Calvin Ridley, and Njoku, and I didn't go down because Kolar was clutch. I picked up DK out of free agency, and he was actually like pretty productive down the stretch.
Chamare
and
DK, not
Flinoy.
Metcalf. For the record.
Yeah. So shout out, those are all my boys for sure, especially Flinoy. I love Flinoy.
Yes. Yeah. 32-team league rocks. Yeah. You could have been like me when, I took 3 quarterbacks and they all got hurt.
And not have all your guys hurt. I actually have a question for you about the league because the draft is coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
If you guys don't have anybody else you want to bring up.
I got one more name that I might mention that I kind of like.
Fire.
The Chiefs edge rusher going into his second year, Ashton Gillette, is somebody that I like, number 97. He's always kind of popped to me when I watch the Chiefs just because he's a way bigger end than you expect in 2026. Like there's so many 240-pound guys who kind of enter the fray and you're hoping that they can hold up and run defense. This is somebody that how much does he weigh? He looks big, like he is actually huge. And that's the first thing that stands out. He's listed 270. Wouldn't surprise me if he weighs more than that. And he can kind of hold up against the run. And in college, he had an 11-sack season that led the ACC in 2023. He had 14 and a half tackles for loss in 2023, 10 in 2024, less sacks in 2024, 4.5. But 40 TFLs, 26 and a half sacks in 4 years of college is extremely productive. Comes into the league, doesn't have a really high win rate, but I thought his traits, his size, he's got some ability to win high side that he flashed. And the Chiefs' D-end room, is wide open for somebody to, I feel like, break out with Peter Woods and Chris Jones on the interior, drawing so much, kind of squeezed attention. Can Gillette, with all that college production and his size profile, come out and be somebody? Because I enjoy watching him. I think he's got some power and some ability to win high side and some lateral agility as well. It just needs more of a plan and needs to kind of put all the pieces together and not just kind of be a mid-power guy, which is probably what he was as a rookie, I'd say.
Yeah. You're hoping this Chiefs defensive line is still pretty good with Jones, and they added Tonga and Peter Woods, and you still have Karlaftis.
Cool D tackle.
Yeah.
Room.
It is a cool it is a very cool D tackle room. So yeah, I mean, if they have some bigger guys off the edge, I mean, they can be a very, very powerful force still,
Yeah.
especially
And
with
isn't
a
bad
secondary
too,
that's questionable, right? So you're going to need that front to be violent and disruptive.
But that's my last guy, I think.
What pick would you guys want in the 32-team league? What are you hoping for?
I don't care. I got 32 last year and was happy with how that turned out. Getting Brees and Mahomes on that turn, I enjoyed that. The first overall pick almost scares me because the quarterbacks dry up so fast. So do you take Josh Allen with the first pick? But also that's just such a weird thing to do in fantasy football. So it psychs me out.
It doesn't feel right. That's for sure.
It doesn't feel right. So I don't really care. Maybe I'll just say 16th and put me right in the middle.
Not that it's just gonna be random. I was just wondering like if there's anything you're hoping for.
I heard a great idea from my friend Amanda at a party last night. She does a league, and every year she sets a theme, and everybody has to name their team based on the theme. So she was like, she's done soups or like TV show, like 90s sitcoms, and it gives everybody a starting point to name their team and kind of theme their team across the league. I thought that was such a good idea because fantasy team names suck so bad typically. And Zach Ertz, please retire so I don't have to see my ball Zach Ertz in every fantasy league that I'm in for the rest of time. Like, you know, like it just the barstool ass sports humor that like generates every fantasy football team name is can be tough. And I'm also not that good at thinking of better alternatives. Like my team names aren't that funny. I feel like if you
I love evening.
Evening is my favorite.
Evening is good, man.
That's better than I usually go with.
I think a lot of the play on words with a player's name, they're really not that creative.
No.
You know,
well, it has to be like a little inappropriate. That's like
it's got to be a little naughty.
It's got to be a little.
So then you end up with a lot of Deshaun Watson fantasy football team names, a lot, or maybe referencing like Nick Chubb not being a relevant player anymore is tough. It's for a lot of fellas out there.
Kayshon Boutte needs to break out, bro, for the fantasy football culture.
Yeah, I think I've typically just gone with like the Cleveland Browns for my fantasy team name, which might explain why
that's awesome, dude.
Why I historically never am good at fantasy football because I pick the Browns as my baseline there. Mm-hmm. So maybe not. I don't know. I had the 24th pick last year and took Jonathan Taylor and was pretty happy with that. So I think like having something where you're not.
I hardly know her. There you go.
You could do the same thing for Naylor.
Naylor? That actually is pretty good. Nail her.
Oh,
that's perfect. I nail her. Bang. We're so good at this fantasy shit, man.
Bang. You're winning the whole league. So I don't know. I think I might prefer back half just so I don't feel like handcuffed into taking a quarterback, but also when I had a top half pick, I took Jalen Hurts and I ended up being very good that year too. So I could see it either way, but I having a top pick and there's a lot of pressure that like, I mean, you do have to take a quarterback there, right? And then you're kind of worried that like you might miss out on some of the top running backs and receivers because you're not picking again for like 50 more picks, you know? So it's tough. But I don't know. What pick are you leaning towards, Matt, that you like?
I don't know. I guess I would have to look. I didn't really have an answer to this question when I asked it. I do think you can make it work from anywhere, especially with third round reversal, which I really feel like you have to have in a league this big. But
yeah, just don't take Worthy when you get that first spot in the third round. Don't do that.
Will do.
I've got a 32% strategy that I think I'm debating if I should do it or not. In fact, I'm going to run it by you. So Blaiden, one time you picked a bunch of quarterbacks, right? And it didn't work out very well, but you picked a bunch of starters. You picked like Matthew Stafford and Jordan Love and whoever it was.
I picked Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, and who was my last guy?
It was Stafford.
I know Stafford fit into this mold.
It was.
I don't think it was Jones. It was Jones and Richardson who got hurt. All three of them got hurt. I'm gonna.
I remember it being Stafford. That's the name I had in my head. But anyway, regardless, all these guys were projected to be starters. Here is my strategy: you pick a starter, right? Last year I picked Mahomes, as I said, and then my backup was Minshew, just in case Mahomes got hurt. I picked Minshew. Do you snipe multiple backups? Because these backup people might expect like, oh, I picked my starter I'm just going to get my back. No one else is going to pick them because like there's no, they're going to pick their starters back up. So they're just kind of guaranteed to have that stack. Do you fill up with like Fields as your first bench spot and then Richardson is your second bench spot? And then like, that's the way you kind of have these insurance policies at quarterback, because then if any of them become starters, they become valuable in trades. If your starter goes down, like there's a chance one of these guys is already playing for you, like is already out there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that of like, look, last year on my bench, I had like guys who got cut and guys who are just useless players, like aren't getting points.
Mm-hmm.
Is having more backup quarterbacks on your bench a viable 32-person strategy? Is that the best way to use bench spots?
I did that last year.
You did?
It also is part of what saved. Yeah. I drafted Jake Browning in the 15th round and traded him for Tony Pollard before he actually got a start.
Oh,
and Pollard was like I really, really had to work on the margins. I think I went 500 though. I went 500 and neighbors went. I was demonic on the margins last year. If only I had made any good selections outside of Dak in the first with any real picks.
So it looks like my quarterbacks in week 1 of the 2023 32 team fantasy football league, I finished 2-12 this season. I had Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Matt Corral, and Tommy DeVito.
But you drafted 3.
And I think I drafted. I must have traded Stafford then, is what I did.
Oh, that's what you did. You traded away the one guy who stayed healthy.
I would have traded. I think I don't remember what I did to trade. I don't remember how I pulled.
We're
finding out on this podcast.
I'm sure Matt Corral came over in a deal. It was like Matt Corral and like
I
Jerry
do not
Jeudy.
remember what I did, but I definitely. You're right that I definitely traded Stafford.
I remember Stafford on that squad. I refuse.
Yes, Stafford was your third.
I traded Stafford for Hopkins 1-for-1. Awful.
And what did Hopkins do this year?
In this particular season,
this was 2023.
This was 2023.
Yes.
He was in week 1. He went for 11.5. Week 2, 14. And then
what was his overall?
He didn't score over 10 points again the rest of the season.
I'm looking at my lineup. I was starting River Craycraft. Man, this is not.
Who is that?
Oh, dude, I can't see what his wide receiver ranking overall was for that season for some reason.
2023 he had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. He can't have been that bad.
He wasn't that bad, but the games where he was like pretty solid, like where he scored his most points, week 1 he was on my bench, and then week 2.
How the hell was he on your bench, man? In 32.
It's a great question.
With multiple flexes.
I gotta say, Blaiden, your dynasty team is cracked in our
dude. Yes, the Theo Ash Dynasty League, bro. No, the Theo Ash Dynasty League. I'm cooking. I've got Matt tried to trade me both the Bears running backs for a first round pick, and I said no.
Which is that's not a bad deal.
Here's the thing: it's not a bad deal. It is just a personal.
But it's horrible in this league.
But I just think it's bad aura to have Manungai and I'm blanking on Swift. Yeah, I don't know why I kept pointing.
These are the first off, half the league is inactive. I didn't even make my draft picks, and even if I did, and they ended up being a good player, the evil commissioner would probably take them away from me. And on top of that, there's no flex spots. And because there's like 5 teams that are rebuilding naturally, there's like 18 running backs that actually matter.
Yeah. So I've got Josh Allen,
And
Keyshawn
even if I
Judkins,
had a stud running back, what would happen to him? He would be ripped away from me violently.
What did I do?
You took away the first overall pick from me.
I took it away? What did I do?
Yes, you
I feel
did.
like I
You
just
said-
looked
you
at
said-
last year's result and then like, okay. So there must have been a game for the last pick, right?
Certainly.
Right. Someone's got to be in 14th place or whatever. I did it where if you were in the game for the 14th pick, right? 13th and 14th, you could do it where the loser gets the 14th pick and the winner gets the 13th pick, right? And then the worst team gets the first pick. I did it where the winner of the 14th place game gets the first pick and the loser gets the 13th pick.
What?
So yes, that is what I decided to do. So maybe that's wrong, but I just thought in these like week 16, week 17 fantasy weeks, I could be convinced to change this as the commissioner. But in the week 16 and 17 weeks, there's still a reason to set your lineup, basically, was my thought. That was all it was. I just that rule. Or it's not even.
I just
a rule.
didn't know that was
me vibing it out, honestly, and not thinking about poor Matt, who has a shitty team, lost.
I'm just a little. Well, I have the worst team because I took over an orphan team.
Yes, you did.
And if that dynasty roster is ever posted, it really is not my fault, and it has neighbors as well.
It does have Malik Neighbors.
It does have Malik Neighbors. But
anyway,
my team is cracked, Theo. You're right. Allen, I have JSN, Amon-Ra, I have Rice, I have Bowers. Fairbairn is my kicker. I have the Chargers, Lions, and Broncos defenses. So just whatever I'm feeling any given week, I just whatever I'm feeling any given week, I'm just like, yeah, this defense goes in. And then Stafford's on the bench along with Devin Neal, Jonah Coleman, Katron Allen, Ty Johnson.
Oh, that bench sucks ass. You better.
But Katron Allen's going to be nice this year, and so is Jonah Coleman.
Did you pick Jonah Coleman in the first round? You must have, right? Or did me not drafting cost me Jonah Coleman?
I had to have taken him in the first round.
I mean,
because I don't have.
You were like damn near the winner last year, so you must.
I think I came in second. I was pretty close. I was cooking. So I feel good about my team. I've got the starters in place. I need my running backs to step it up a little bit this year. I need a Judkins breakout would be really nice.
Yeah,
it would be. I also have Otten on the bench at tight end, so it's a good team. It's probably the best fantasy team I've ever constructed. So
Puka, Amon-Ra, Bowers is ridiculous.
It's JSN, Amon-Ra, Rice, Bowers. Yeah. It's
anyway.
nuts. It's nutty. I could have wide receiver 1, 2, 3 if everything goes according to plan.
Mm-hmm.
But call me about Rico Daddle when things go the wrong
way. I'll reconsider your Swift Manungai for my first round pick. But
consider it and do it right now. No, I don't necessarily blame you, but I don't think it's a crazy offer.
No, it wasn't a crazy offer, and like if I like
running backs, but the Bears,
it is. I just don't like them. I just don't like them as players.
Sure,
like personally, and I just like having guys on my team that they're my guys, you know. And so Jonah Coleman's someone that I like, Devin Neal's someone that I like, and so they're on the team.
Watch for J.K. Dobbins to have his first 1,000-yard season this year.
Yeah,
there's a breakout
for
candidate.
The first time is going to play an entire season, and Jonah Coleman will get 0 burn because of it. Yes.
When we look back at the J.K. Dobbins Pro Football Reference page, I want there to be 1 year where there's a bold led the league in rushing yards season. And then the rest is all 900 yards because he always gets hurt. But I need 1 year where there's some bold ink.
Yes.
Anyway,
we do. But that'll do it for another episode of Stay Hot. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Final division preview episode is coming up next, AFC West, and then football season is right around the corner. We're so excited. It's going to be peak. But until then and until next time, we will catch you on the flippity flop.